Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I have read so far this year because I haven't done any sort of wrap up all year, solely because I was focusing on a big series, which I'll talk about. But now that that's wrapped up, I'm able to read some different books and just tell y'all my thoughts on them. So I actually read a good amount this month in particular, but I'm just gonna go through all the books that I've read so far this year and do a whole wrap up talking about my thoughts, what I rated them, all that good stuff. Let's start off with the main series that has held me up with reading other books this year that I started actually last year and then finished these past few months. The Harry Potter series, which I actually have a video all about the last one because for some reason I decided right at the end that I should do a vlog on the last one instead of doing mini vlogs on each one, but that's okay. At least I have my thoughts on the last one all in that video. This series took me like 4 months to read. It took me so long to read it. I rated most of these 4 stars except for the last one. I rated the last one a 5 stars. If I could go back and change it, I think Prisoner of Azkaban would also be a 5 stars because I absolutely love that book so much, and obviously The Deathly Hallows was so good. I recommend this series so much. I think that people might think that it's like a book for children, which it technically is, but it was so good and so entertaining, and I think that like a lot of fantasy readers would love to read this series if they haven't already, because I really did not know what I was missing out on, but I was really missing out, and I'm so glad that I understand everything now and I completely get the hype. It was so fun to read one of the books and then watch the movie and do that with each of them. I had so much fun with this, so I highly recommend, and I'll probably be doing the same thing with other series like The Hunger Games or Twilight, reading the books and then watching the movies, because I think that's just like the best experience. You really get like all of it. So yeah, I rated them basically all 4 stars, and my favorites were Prisoner of Azkaban and Deathly Hallows. So in the midst of reading this long series, I actually was able to listen to some books in the meantime. I can't read another book at the same time because I just get too confused, and I'll just focus my attention on one book when I'm, you know, supposed to be reading 2 at the same time. But I was able to listen to some, and I like listening to books like when I'm in my car or cleaning or doing chores, stuff like that. So I have been loving to listen to books. The first one that I listened to this year was Finding Me by Viola Davis. I didn't rate this book because it's a memoir, so I don't like, you know, rating someone's life, but I really did like this book. There were several times where I was like in tears, just the way she wrote it, and like, I don't know, the wisdom that she had about life in general was so good, and I highly recommend that book because it just really made you think about life and just like appreciate life. And hearing somebody who's come from nothing and, you know, built a life for themselves, it's really like inspirational. And it also made me want to watch everything she's been in. I remember watching How to Get Away with Murder. It's such a good one, so I'm probably gonna rewatch that at some point because I really enjoyed that one. Now that I know more about her, it'll be just that much more fun to watch her on screen. The next one that I listened to in the midst of reading Harry Potter was Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. This one was also so good and so sad, honestly, but I really did like this one, and there were definitely some funny parts in it because he was so funny. So yeah, it was just really interesting hearing about his life and, you know, everything with Friends, because I loved Friends when I was younger. Like, that was my show I would fall asleep to at night when I was literally in elementary school. Yeah, I just really liked that one. Memoirs are just so fun to listen to somebody else's life story and get a little bit more like about their personalities, and especially like hearing the person narrate their own story, like just that much better. The next book that I listened to was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I actually really enjoyed this one. I rated it 4 stars. It was very entertaining and it was so twisty, but I liked that like you got a little bit of information that like didn't make sense throughout the story, so you just kept being confused and like kept wanting to, you know, continue reading it. That's when it's a good thriller book or mystery to me. It's like when you get like a little bit of information at a time that you're kind of putting the pieces together, but nothing is making sense until the very end, and then it's all like boom 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 boom. I don't know, it was very good. Oh, I haven't been saying what any of these books are. Okay, I'll start with this one because the other ones y'all know. None of this is true. It follows the story of two women and they meet on their birthdays. They're birthday twins, and one of the ladies has a podcast, like a very popular podcast, which I was kind of thinking of like Alex Cooper from Call Her Daddy. Like that was like what I was picturing in my mind was that lady. So you have her, and then the other lady basically says that she has like an interesting life and like some stories to tell. So she gets on her podcast and starts recounting her side of her story of her life, and it just gets crazier and crazier, and more secrets keep unraveling about this lady, and you're like, she's wild. Yeah, that was really good. Okay, and then I was able to also listen to As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. I read the first two in this series, the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, like 2 years ago when I like first started reading. I really enjoyed them. I just didn't finish the series. I went to pick this up like, I don't even know, maybe last year, and I just couldn't get into it. I was kind of confused about, you know, some of the characters and stuff, so I put it down. So I thought the best way to get through this book and just know what happens, complete it, was to listen to it, and I actually really enjoyed it. There are definitely like characters that I had forgotten and, you know, a little bit of stuff that I didn't really quite remember, but I remembered enough to really enjoy this one. It was really good. Like I was contemplating giving it 5 stars, so it's probably like a 4.5, 4.75, you know, somewhere around there if I did those ratings, because it was very good, and it took such a dark turn that I was not expecting. I was like, when are they gonna say that this is a dream, because this can't be real. It was that crazy, and I really enjoyed it. I can't really say anything about this one specifically because this one's the last one in the series, but A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, it basically follows Pip, and she's really into like, you know, murder mystery type of stuff, and she decides to solve this murder because she doesn't believe that the person that was accused of it was actually the one who did it. So she goes on to solve this murder and gets herself in some trouble along the way. And then this one's the third one in the series. And then another one that I listened to, I've definitely listened to a lot in the midst of reading Harry Potter, so that was good. I listened to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This one follows Addie LaRue, and she first of all doesn't age. She's been cursed to where she doesn't age and nobody remembers her. She can meet somebody, be with them for hours, whatever, and then as soon as she walks out the door, they don't remember her. And so she lives a very lonely life until she meets someone that does remember her. But you have like the present of them two, you know, her present, and discovering somebody that does remember her, while also having her past showing what her life was like before this curse and everything like that. I wish I liked this more than I did. Like I'm so jealous of the people that love this and like it really moved them, because, you know, I wish I had that experience, and I feel like I'm missing something because I didn't have that experience. And maybe it was the fact that I listened to it. Maybe if I had read it, like I would have been more attached, but I really just wasn't the biggest fan of this book. I rated it 3 stars. Like I could see how this is a good book. There were definitely parts where I was entertained, but more so I was just trying to get through it. I was just listening, like, when is this going to end? I don't know. I think it was the fact that there wasn't much of a plot. Like I don't know. I felt like it was following along her life. I just was bored more times than I was entertained. I feel like I'm really sad about that, because I was really expecting to love this book and I had heard so many great things about it. Even like the ending, I was just so over the book that I just didn't even care about the big plot twist that I knew was already gonna happen. Yeah, I'm sad about it. So then I started getting into Frida McFadden, and listening to them has been so fun. I'm also listening to one right now by her because I'm just loving listening to her thriller books. They're so short and just so entertaining. I love to, like, you know, try to figure out what happened. So I listened to Never Lie by Frida McFadden first. So Never Lie is about this husband and wife, and they're about to go tour this house, and they get stuck at the house because there's like a snowstorm and they can't get out. So they're stuck at this house, and the house is this former famous psychologist's house. The wife discovers tapes that the psychologist has like taped all of her therapy sessions. So she goes through and listens to these tapes and kind of just discovers some creepy stuff, especially since the woman that lived there was presumed to be murdered, basically, even though they never found her. So, and then some creepy stuff starts happening in the house and they're like, what is going on here? So that was really good, really entertaining. And then after that, I listened to The Coworker by Frida McFadden. I also really liked this one. It is about this lady who goes missing, and her coworker goes over to her house and finds like a bunch of blood in her house, calls the police, and then I think the police are kind of thinking that the coworker had something to do with it. So you kind of just start discovering more things about their relationship and more things about what happened to the coworker. I really like that one too. I rated The Coworker 3 stars. Never Lie was definitely more like entertaining and gripping, while The Coworker was a little bit like more like odd. I don't know how to explain it. Just kind of like outlandish. I love Frida McFadden. I think her thrillers are so entertaining. So then after that, I read 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. This is actually the first book that I was able to pick up after reading the long Harry Potter series. And this follows 6 teenagers, and they're going on a road trip to Florida for spring break, and they're in an RV and they get stuck in the woods. Like their tires blow out and discover that someone is trying to shoot at them. The shooter ends up getting in contact with them through a walkie-talkie and says there's somebody in there that has a secret that needs to basically give it up, and the person knows who they are. And so then they're kind of like turning against each other a little bit, and you know, still trying to figure out how they're going to get out of this RV without doing what the shooter says. And there's 6 of them and 5 survive. Okay, and then after that, after all these spooky books, I figured it was only right to pick up a romance. So I picked up Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I've heard so many great things about her, so I was excited to read this and I really enjoyed it. It follows this girl. Her tire goes out and she's going through this small town, and the man finds her and pulls her out of the ditch that she's in. And then they kind of spark up this relationship, but they both don't see it going anywhere because they live like an hour apart from each other, and she's like this high class like surgeon lady and he is a owner of an inn in this small town. Yeah, it was really cute. I liked it. I'm not the biggest fan of romance, I feel like, but this one really did to keep me entertained. So I rated it 4 stars. Okay, and then I finally got through listening to Magnolia Parks. This is my favorite book, and so I finally got through listening to it on my second like time round, because basically I read Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates like a year ago, then just didn't read the rest of them for some reason. So then I tried to pick up the third one and I was a little confused, and so I thought that I should probably reread them so that I wasn't like confused and I could have the best, you know, reading experience with them. I'm just listening to this one in the Daisy Hates before I go on and read the rest of them. I think I definitely enjoyed reading them myself. I felt more attached to these characters when I'm reading them myself than listening to it. So I'm glad that I've done that the first time around, because I know these books are great and I love them, but the re-listen of it was not the greatest. It honestly took me a long time. Like I would listen to a little bit and then I'd find something else to listen to and then like pick this back up. Yeah, I don't really recommend listening to it, honestly. Like it was okay, but I think it's more entertaining to see the words on the paper and really get the full like effect of the author's writing, because she has great writing. Yeah, but I did listen to it. Obviously I rated it a 5 stars again, and so I'm gonna go listen to Daisy Hates and hopefully pick up the rest of the series soon. And then the last book that I have read this year is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I am so happy I finally got to this. I have heard so many great things about it, so I already had the whole series. So it's just a matter of when I could get to it. Like I knew I was gonna really enjoy it, but I was very much enjoying this. Like honestly, I was between a 4 and a 5 star rating because it was so good. It just didn't have have that 5-star feeling, so I didn't feel like I should give it a 5-star, but I've loved everything about this book. It was so whimsical and magical and twisted and dark, just everything that you would want in like a fairy tale fantasy type of book. It was so good. This follows Evangeline, and she makes a deal with a fate to basically stop her boyfriend from marrying her stepsister. She thinks that her stepmother put her boyfriend under a spell. And then it goes from there, and obviously there's consequences to making a deal with a fate, and so she has to kind of deal with those consequences, and it's just so good. I really enjoy it. Like, there's like balls and princesses and all these magical things. I loved it so much. I'm now on to The Ballad of an Ever After. I haven't finished this one yet, but I'm so excited. I'm maybe like 30% through it. Yes, really enjoying this book, and so excited to see where it goes, because I know this one is kind of like the fan favorite and the ending is crazy, so I'm just reading as fast as I can, try to see what happens with this one. And while I'm reading that one, I'll just go ahead and say what I'm listening to too, because I've been liking to kind of do both at the same time. So I'm listening to another Frida McFadden book, of course, which is The Inmate by Frida McFadden, and that one is about this girl who gets a job at this prison, but she gets a job as a nurse for this prison, and one of the people in there, she was kind of a little bit responsible for putting in there. You find out more about what happened in the past that got the man to be in prison and her role in it, and you know, how she's dealing with everything now, and her wondering if it was even the right choice in the first place to put in there. I don't know what's gonna happen in that one, but I'm really excited. I'm really enjoying it so far. Yeah, and that's all the books that I've read so far this year. I'm honestly pretty happy with it. I am 4 books behind schedule on Goodreads because my goal is 45 books. So I'm trying to step up the pace a little bit because I do want to meet my goal, and I do want to read all of these books that I have on my TBR right now. So stick around for more wrap-ups and TBRs to come. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!